So the timing of this interview could not have been better amidst everything going on right now.
One thing that we will be announcing soon, and I'm fine to say it here first, I'm trying to be transparent, give you all the deets, PR guy. Stop it.
In 2019, a 24-year-old kid in Utah had a dream
And you think about how many things have happened over those 5 years and how much has changed. And
to create the best and biggest pickleball tournament. But how do you get people to buy into your idea? It's been 5 years since that young man announced his dream, and now he's got some new challenges ahead of him.
And unfortunately, we tried for a couple years. USA Pickleball used to be out at every event. They tried to test, and the gap was just too big for the confidence level for both manufacturers and both for players. How do we let players, manufacturers, fans, and everyone have confidence on the court to say everyone's playing this within the same legal limits? You know, first and foremost, when I think about like, what do I want to be remembered for at the end of the day? I want to be remembered as one heck of a husband and one heck of a dad.
This is a story of Connor Pardo, founder and CEO of the PPA.
Wasn't expecting this.
I'm excited.
Yeah, dude.
Neither was I. I got told this morning, I'm like, this is great.
Thank you, man.
I'm a big fan.
No, I appreciate it. I've only done like 3 interviews where I was the guest, and one of the guys was like, who's the one person that you would want on the podcast? I was like, players are pretty accessible. So I was like, who else? I was like, probably Connor Pardo.
Appreciate it. That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you're in such a tough position. It's hard. I think it's hard for people to grasp how difficult it is to be in your role because you have to play to so many sides. Like you have investors, you have players, you have friends, you have family, you have so many people to take into consideration. It's I'm not really envious of your role. It's tough, but I mean, super grateful for what you do, and I know that there's probably a lot of controversy as far as the decisions that are made, but yeah, thank you.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, trying to grow something from the start, like you're going to make a lot of really good decisions that are really good and that really grow the sport, and you try to make more of those and try to learn from the things that you do right. And then you're going to make decisions and you're going to mess up, you're going to screw up, you're going to figure out things that don't work, and how do you get better each and every day? I think the most important thing is everybody might not always believe that things should be done a certain way, but if you just try to do the best thing and try to do the right thing every day, that's all you can really do at the end of the day. Because you're right, there's pro players, there's fans, there's pickleball crazies, there's investors, and so sometimes it's hard for everybody to think that things should be done the exact same way. Most of the time it is. 90% of the time I think it's easy, but there's 10% of the time where you just try to do what's best.
What do you factor in when you're making decisions? Because I know you have an entrepreneurial background with like real estate. So like maybe it started then, but how do you come to decisions?
Yeah, I think for us, we have a great team of people. One thing that I think one of the most pinnacle moments in, I guess my pickleball journey is when Tom Dundon and I started working together. Like having someone like that you can bounce ideas off. Like I don't think people understand because he's not really a front-facing guy. Like he's in the office with me every single week. I'm talking to him every morning. I've already talked to him 3 times since today. I talked to him at midnight. I talked to him again at 5 a.m. But having somebody that cares so much about the sport, that understands business, understands sports, and just someone that has so much life experience to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, Tom, what do you think about this? Or I think that obviously is very important. I also think something that's really cool about what we've done, I mean, I was 24 years old when I started the PPA tour. I'm only 29 now. I think what's really cool is that a lot of these players that are here, like we've grown up doing this together. Like it really was very much a team effort. Like you look at our staff, we've got a lot of executives and people that are ranging from, 25 to 35 years old. So the fact that we're kind of all doing this together, we're all kind of almost in life at the same time, whether it be family, kids, when you graduated from college, life experience. So being able to have players that have been there from the very beginning, and also the new players coming on the scene now, having them to be able to bounce ideas off of someone like a Ben Johns or Annalie Waters, or even someone like a Matt Wright, or even Zane Navertil. Zane and I spent some time talking about how we could make things better yesterday and talking about media and some other things. So I think all that stuff is very important.
that's crazy to think about. That, like, I don't think people think about that. Like, yes, pickleball's been around since 1965, but the organization of the PPA, which is the largest organization that most of the sport is kind of like centered around, as far as like the media, the players, and all the brands that are associated with it. It's only been 5 years.
Only 5 years.
That is a startup.
Yeah.
It's considered a startup. Yeah.
And you think about how many things have happened over those 5 years and how much has changed, and the start of MLP and a merger and Tom coming in. Like, I really feel like this year, even so, like the MLP PPA merger was only like 150 days ago, but I feel like right now we're finally getting to a spot where we're starting to be a little bit more matured as a business, where instead of just looking at us and saying, hey, everything's a startup, we can be a little bit more process driven and be able to start thinking about what the future is going to look like.
Damn, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, that's super cool. 'Cause I was just thinking, like, when you're talking about earlier, it's like it's this kind of like typical entrepreneurship mindset. It's like fail fast and experiment, and you just have to do that. Like, this venue's kind of an experiment. This is the first time it's been held here, but there's a 3-year contract. And yeah, the courts might not be ideal right now, but it's like we have 2 more years. Like, and a lot can happen in pickleball years, like 1 year's like 7 years.
This is going to be an ad for my favorite sponsor, Viore. Right now, they've released the Dream Knit, so they're getting ready for fall and winter, and they have a lot of awesome stuff that they recently released, just like new materials and new product lines. I can't wait to get into some of the recovery items and some of those crew necks. Yeah, I already have the Ponto crew neck. I love that item. I can't wait to wear it. They have hoodies, half zips. They even have a down jacket. Can't wait to get into all these items. If you haven't already tried it, check it out. They do give free returns. Viore is mostly known for that minimal look with really, really nice material. Anyways, if you're interested in trying out Viore, go to viore.com/buildingpickleball and you get 20% off your first purchase. And there's free shipping on any orders of $75 and more. And they also give free returns.
Oh, yeah, or more.
Yeah.
Or more. Yeah, like something like this, exactly. Like, we're here at Fontainebleau. Super grateful. It was actually a relationship that came through Matt Wright. So Matt works at Koch Industries. I don't know if people know that. It's the second largest privately owned company in the United States. And the CFO loved pickleball. They bought this hotel a little while back, and the opportunity came to be able to run an event here. And so obviously it's something that we're not going to say no to. I mean, what an experience to be able to be here in Las Vegas. These guys have spent, millions of dollars to be able to provide an event that is awesome. Over 1,000 amateur players, over 5,000 people buying tickets, all 200 of the best players in the world here. We're on Tennis Channel this week, on Fox. And if you look at the build out, it's something that we probably haven't seen before. Like, it's pretty dang cool. If you're not here, everyone should check it out on YouTube. Check out the Instagram, the behind the scenes, people following it. But, pickleball's never been played on top of carpet before.
Yeah.
So, we ended up bringing in a bunch of staging, and we know that it can get a lot better next year. But I still think that this year, was a huge success.
Yeah. It's like that phrase, 1 step back, 2 steps forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. Damn, 29 years old. What do you feel like the past 5 years has done to you personally, relationship wise, as far as your family, and like the toll it might take on like your health? Because I'm always curious about entrepreneurship and how people
gained a little bit of weight, unfortunately.
You need to play more, man.
Yeah, I need to play more.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great question. So the same year that I started the PPA tour, the way that I can know how old is the PPA tour is it was only a couple months after I had my first set of twins. So I have Grayson and Cannon. They're my first set of twins, boy. They were born in October of 2019. Our first PPA event ever was February of 2020. Yes. So what's really cool about the whole experience is a lot of the players and that have been here from the beginning, they've watched my kids grow up as well. They're now out on the pickleball court. We can hit the ball back and forth and rally. But like becoming a dad in the midst of growing a company like this, packing up, moving to Dallas, I think it's been tricky. It's been tricky to balance that life at home. Like the reason I actually got into pickleball is because of my dad. And, first and foremost, when I think about like, what do I want to be remembered for at the end of the day? I want to be remembered as one heck of a husband and one heck of a dad, where my kids are like, you know what? I'm so happy that was my dad. I'm lucky that was my dad. And so, that has been really fun and unique and also challenging to do, along with growing a business like this that started with 8 of my friends, and now we're up to 320 employees, all sorts of different companies now that are all rolled into Pickleball Inc., Pickleball Central, Pickleball Brackets, Pickleball Tournaments, working with Duper, the Pickler. But yeah, I think that's been tricky to balance. And then what some people don't know is 2 years later, I actually had another set of twins. So another boy and a girl, Truman and Millie. And so at one point, we were running all of this, and I remember right when I first did my deal with Tom is when Carly was pregnant, and we were really close to expecting our second set of twins. And so it's almost like when I think of my PPA life, there's almost been 2 lives. There was the life before Tom, and then there was the life after. But at the starting at both of the journeys, there was a new set of twins to kick it off.
Is there a third set coming?
No. The other day I was sitting there. We were actually playing blackjack here with a few of the pro players. I think it was Hunter Johnson, Roscoe, Anna Bright, and a few others. And I was like, you know what? I'll be 45 years old with my family out of the house. That'll be my third life, right? So I think I've made the decision that it's time to go. Get the little snip.
Yeah.
Call it quits.
Yeah. I mean, 2 sets of twins, like. Yeah, we're going to do like a rapid fire.
Okay.
First thought that comes to mind, rally scoring or side out?
Side out.
Tennis.
Not as good as pickleball.
MLP.
The most electrifying format in pickleball.
Vibe.
Badass.
APP.
Feeder tour.
USAP.
Incompetent.
UPA.
The future.
Damn, that was dope. This is like one of those things I feel like you've just learned in like 5 years is talking with you. Like I didn't know you before you became an entrepreneur and took this on, so it's cool. Like, yeah, you're very like articulate, well-spoken.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Something I think is always interesting in entrepreneurship is trying to get investors on board and sell an idea. So like, what was it like trying to sell the idea of pickleball to investors, sponsors, C-suite executives, and the thing you usually hear, which is like, it's not a spectator sport?
Yeah, that's a great question. One thing that I am so incredibly grateful for, when you have something like pickleball behind you, it does make it easier to sell. That doesn't mean that's how it used to be from the beginning. Like when we first started, like if you actually really think about what did pickleball look like in 2019, one, it was hard to even sell myself to the endemic sponsors, the people that already believed in pickleball. I remember my very first sponsorship negotiation or conversation I ever had was with Franklin. And I told them that I was starting the PPA tour, and I got laughed at, right? But it's funny, we're good friends now. I love Adam, I love Franklin, I love Chris, I love the guys over there. But one, it was hard to even start just in the endemic space. People thought, hey, this kid's 24 years old, he's not going to be able to do this. How does this make sense? And so, for me, it was just always about trying to be a little bit bigger and a little bit better each and every day. As pickleball started to grow, we quickly got all the endemics to say, hey, these guys, this is interesting. I think that these guys might actually have something happening here. And, you started something where you started with 0 sponsorship dollars. It was just an idea to where you got up to, $3 million of endemic sponsorships coming in. And then it was time when pickleball started to become more mainstream. Like you feel grateful to be behind something where you have 40 million people playing. When you started, there was a lot of people that didn't know about it. So you were trying to sell the sport itself. Things got a lot easier when people said, I like pickleball, I enjoy pickleball, and we were able to say, well, this is how you can invest in pickleball. This is how you can get behind the sport. So who are we the most grateful for? We're grateful for the game. The fact that the game is what it is and that everybody can play it, whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you want to play at the professional level, or if you're just looking for a hobby or something athletic to do. Selling pickleball really wasn't hard. I think it's more important for us to be able to sell to people why we're the group that's going to help make it grow. Show them that we're going to work so much harder than everybody else. We're going to wake up earlier. We're going to work later. We're willing to put the time and effort in. And you're really selling yourself, your vision, your team. And as long as you've got the right people behind you that are thinking the same way, really the sky's the limit.
Yeah. When you talked about trying to sell it early on and it was like tough, you probably got the door shut on you a few times. And a common trait in entrepreneurs is like resilience. What do you believe in, or like how did you remain convinced that you'd be able to do what you're doing now back 5 years ago?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I never really looked at the PPA tour and said, this is what I want it to be 5 years from now. I feel like every day that, and I feel like we're getting to that point now where we can actually sit down and we can have a plan and we can say, this is what it's going to look like. Here's our KPIs. Here's what we need to do to be successful. Much like other entrepreneurs, we were in a spot where it's like every day there is so much opportunity and so much you can be choosing to spend your time on. How do you make sure you're choosing the right things to spend your actual time on? So like, we never let the lows, there's tons of people that have said no, or deals that I remember our first $1 million deal we thought we had was with Hilton, and the deal was done. It was on the 1 yard line. I remember reporting it, telling everybody how great it was going to be. The deal never got done. Never, ever got done. But we never let that, get us down because there was always something else right around the corner.
Oh, okay. That's cool. What is the PPA's mission?
Yeah, I think the PPA's mission is really trying to professionalize the sport of pickleball. When I think of the PPA tour and what do I want it to be, I want people to be able to equate it to the same way they look at what is the PGA to golf, what is the ATP to tennis. But one thing that I never want to lose is I never want to lose that grassroots feel. I think something that's so unique about what we're doing is it's one of our taglines, play where the pros play. I'm going to do everything I can as long as I'm still here working to make sure that pickleball stays accessible, that pro players are sure. Do we want to help grow their brands? Do we want to help make them become celebrities? Do we want to help grow their following? Yes, and we're doing that every day. That's one of the things we're focused on. But we also want to continue the community. What makes pickleball so special? It's the people. It's the lifestyle. It's changed so many people's life. It's changed my life. I'm sure it's changed your life. It's changed pro players' life, but it's changed everybody's life in such different ways. And the thought is like, how do we always keep that going? And how do we have this professional feel, but always have that community feel where, we don't get bigger than the game itself.
That's awesome, dude. I love the feeling of MLP where you're not like dealing with all the riffraff of like amateur players. I'm an amateur player myself, so I'm not like criticizing it. And it's great to just see the pros and know like where your attention can be focused. But I've also like realized that I feel like the thing that makes pickleball so great is because the pros are accessible. Is like you can just run into them and they'll give you their time, like 30 seconds. Like I don't think I can name a single person who can go up to LeBron James and talk with him for like 30 seconds. You can usually get a photo, but that's it. It's cool because it all traces back to the most like synonymous word with pickleball, which is community. Yeah, why Vulcan?
One, it was a great sponsorship deal for us, first and foremost. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like you're going to be taking a chance on someone to go with a company that has never created a ball before. One, the number was way too big to pass up. It's a big number. But number two, Vince and the Vulcan team and Dusty and Lucia, they have always done what they've said, and they've always been a supporter of mine since day one. So when we had the conversation and they promised me they would get the ball right, I knew they would. And they've kept their promise. Was it right the first time around? No. I think that the ball that's out right now is probably the best ball on the market, in my opinion. Could the ball get better? Yeah, I think the ball could get better. I definitely think they could get better. I think the Dura could get better. I think the Franklin could get better. But the Vulcan ball right now, I think it's a great ball. I do feel bad for them because anytime there's a bad bounce or anytime that it's something easy to blame, something easy to fall back on. You don't lose a match. You're not playing as well as you used to play. And we own a company called Just Courts Construction, and we build courts nationwide. We also build all the courts at the PPA Tour events. And every court, not every court is 100% perfect, especially when you're a traveling circus like us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people realize, like, we're rolling into San Clemente. Those guys only have 8 pickleball courts. We're painting 40 pickleball courts that weekend, and then we're moving on to the next place. We're going to Atlanta here in a couple weeks. We're going to paint 40 pickleball courts, and we're going to move on to the next place. And so it's not like we're going to these permanent venues. You can see what's happening here. So a lot of the times, not always. Since this Generation 2 ball has been out, the first ball, it had its fair share of problems.
Yeah.
They addressed it. They fixed it. This new ball, it's really good.
That's sweet. Hell yeah. Another controversial topic would be great to get your insights on is why the rule change with qualies and signed pros.
Will you clarify what the rule change actually is?
Yeah. So if there's a signed pro and he plays with he or she plays with someone that is not signed, they have to go through qualies. Is that correct?
Not always. It depends on the points. So the way the process works to get into the main draw, maybe we can go through that.
Yeah.
So criteria number 1, and this is because our contracts obligate us to do this. And it's one of the reasons that pro players signed with us in the beginning, with tour wars, with everything going on. If we have 2 signed contracted players, they're going to be into the main draw.
Okay.
That's number 1. Number 2, what's the second way for people to be able to get into the main draw? It is to have 1 signed player with a non-signed player. That is the next qualification. The third qualification, if there's still spots that are available, is the teams with the most amount of points. Especially with everything that went on, we have to be loyal to the players that were loyal to us, the players that are putting this first, that are on contracts. It's important for us to have them in the main draw. I mean, we're paying $32 million to pro players this year. That's our annual payment to players. And we believe in those players, and we think they're going to get better. And you might have someone like a Luke Wasson who doesn't have a ton of results right now, but we invested in him, much like NBA teams or people take, flyers on players that we think you look at Luke, he's tall, he's athletic, he has quick hands. He needs to work on a lot. And there's probably some players that played in the 5-0 division that might actually be able to beat him. Mm-hmm. But we think Luke, he's young. We think that he could grow. We think that he could progress. And we want to make sure we're getting him as many opportunities as possible.
Yeah.
With that being said, we know that there is a gap there's a lot of players that are really, really good pickleball players that are unsigned. And so for us, what is the strategy to get those players signed? What is the way to be able to get them into the main draw? Those are conversations that we're having every single day. One thing that we will be announcing soon, and I'm fine to say it here first, is we actually are going to be debuting the PPA Tour Challenger Tour next year. So we're going to have 26 stops, and to be able to play on the challenge, there'll be prize money at risk. And to be able to play on the Challenger Tour, 1, you can't be on an MLP team. Number 2, you can't have a top 25 ranking in any division.
Oh, shit.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to use that at the end of the year. We're going to take 3 guys, 3 girls. We're going to offer them full PPA Tour MLP contracts. We're also going to be using this to give wild cards into events. So you might have somebody like Spartacus, who's out here playing singles right now. Great player. He was an All-American tennis player. He's in the round of 16. He upset someone yesterday. I forget who it was. This will give away for, if he wins a challenger event or has a certain ranking in his area, he can earn a wild card for the LA event, right? So we understand that this needs to be more accessible. And 1, we need to make sure we define what does it mean to be a pro player? And 2, how do I get there? But I think we're well on our way.
That's sweet. It's kind of like a small feeder to a degree. Yeah.
Our thought is right now, you take a look at the APP Tour. It's really served its way as a feeder for the most part. You look at people like a Will Howells or a Mari Humberg. Those are players that we need to sign and we need to bring onto our tour. You look at someone like even a Jay DeVilliers, a Pat Smith way back when, they had a hard time winning on the PPA Tour when they first started playing. But they went over there, they won a ton of matches, and that was years ago, but we knew, hey, we have to sign those players. The thought is now we need that all in-house. We need them to come all through one program. We want to make sure that we're involved in the player's journey from the start all the way up to becoming a pro player. And that's what we're hoping to do by the Challenger Tour.
That's awesome. Damn, that's sweet. Jay won big on the blackjack table yesterday.
Too many. I heard him yelling that all day.
He did well. On that topic, what do you hope that the PPA Tour looks like, let's say 3 years from now?
Yeah, I think one thing that we are very, very focused on right now is just trying to help tell the entire story of the PPA Tour. Why am I here? Why is this event important? Why is it different? Why should I care? Why does it matter? And so I'm hoping that the story becomes a lot more clear to people. What is a Grand Slam? What does a Grand Slam look like? Why do I know that this is such an important tournament for these players to be at? What is a cup? What is a cup? What does that mean? And what is an open? We have 3 different tiers right now. It's the slams, the cups, the opens. I want to be able to tell that story where right now it feels like it's another tournament, it's another week, it's another winner. And in 3 years from now, if that's still the answer, we screwed something up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's very well understood among the players, but like I don't know the difference. I know there's probably some points thing.
Exactly, and we want it to matter to you to where you're like, oh, the Masters is going on this weekend. These players are on all white, and I want someone like the fact that you don't understand it. That means we're not doing our job right. You're someone that actually cares about pickleball. We want to really focus on being able to tell that story. I would say that's number one. Number two, and these are in no particular order, but another thing that's very important to us, we have 40 million people playing pickleball. We need more people to care about, who is Tyson McGuffin, who is Kate Fahey, who is Ben Johns, who is Anna Lee, and that's important to us. We're thinking about those 40 million people. How do we get them to watch more? How do we get them to care more? How do we get them to want to be involved in the pro pickleball infrastructure and community we're trying to build?
Thoughts on, all right, so we're going to get to PEDs, line calls, and paddle testing. Here we go.
Started. All the hard stuff's coming. Not all the easy stuff.
Paddle testing, like what are your thoughts on it? And I see that you guys are trying to find a way to regulate, which makes sense, right? It's got to be difficult to deal with.
Definitely. So we recently hired Jason Aspis, used to be over at the kitchen, a great guy. Honestly, my number one complaint on him would be he cares more about pickleball than our company, which I think is a perfect person to put in a position like that, and so really what we're focused on is, this last 2 years, talk about controversy with paddle testing. A new brand like us, again, we're 5 years old. The hope always originally was, can we lean on USA Pickleball to make that stamp and make that certification mean something? How do we let players, manufacturers, fans, and everyone have confidence on the court to say everyone's playing this within the same legal limits? And unfortunately, we tried for a couple years. USA Pickleball used to be out at every event. They tried to test. And the gap was just too big for the confidence level for both manufacturers and both for players. And we have gambling coming into the sport as well, and it's continuing to grow. A lot of people have gambled on pickleball this year. A lot of people say, hey, when is gambling going to start? Like, no, gambling's going. And it's up and it's going, and it's growing fast, and just like everything in pickleball. But when we look at paddle testing and where we're trying to take it, is the problem is when you have 2,000 different paddle manufacturers that are all getting approval, it's very hard for one very small group to be able to actually govern the entire integrity. And so really where we started, we formed a company called UPAA. And the hope of that is to make sure all players feel like, hey, I'm going out there and I'm playing on an equal playing field. And the first and most important thing that we decided to do this last November. And the first and most important thing is making sure that we're actually testing something that actually matters. So the very first thing that we've done is we have engaged with a lab, and we're focused on dynamic testing. And what I mean by dynamic testing is, what can the paddle do to the ball? One is, there's really two things that matter the most. There's three things that matter, but two things matter the most. One is, how fast does the ball come off my paddle? And number two is, how much can I make that ball spin with my paddle? How many times can it spin? And so we now have the testing in a lab, millions of dollars of equipment to be able to test those two things. So now we have to put the rules in place. Those things are not going to be able to travel to events. So now what we're trying to do is, paddles come in, they get tested, they get approved. How do we make sure that that paddle is the same paddle that's being used in play? And how can we have integrity through challenge process, static on-site testing that equates to variables that we're testing? But really where we got is, like, in order for us to get it to the point where we want it to be, we have to do it all in-house. We're going to have to do it ourselves. Right now, the way that we're looking at the sport, power, it's got to come down a little bit. Spin, if it was my preference, it would stay the same. I would say that most people think that that also should come down just a smidge. What we don't want to get to is to where pickleball was 4 years ago, where every point we were just pushing and dinking. Not ideal. Not ideal for sponsors, not ideal for TV. But right now we're also getting to a point where people feel like they have to over dink because they're so scared for the counter coming back. So if I was the one making all the decisions, which I'm not, my preference would be power come down, spin stay about the same. I want to incentivize the speed up I want to incentivize taking balls that are a little bit lower and trying to be a little bit more aggressive. But right now we have a paddle committee, advisory committee. We have a pro player committee, and then we have the UPA board. And between all three of those things, that's where the line's going to be set. We expect that line to be set in October. And then this will only govern pro play. But starting pro play in January, there will be new rules and new specifications that everybody's playing by.
How will it affect amateur players then? Like if one paddle is passed through the UPA and then they happen to play like a local event?
So the UPA paddles you'll be able to play with at the amateur level here. But we will also be letting amateurs participate with a USAP approved paddle as well.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if you're an amateur, you can have, it could either be a UPAA approved paddle or a USAP approved paddle.
Cool.
At the pro level, only the UPAA.
I'm pretty ignorant and naive to sports organizations and how testing can sometimes be done. Like the only organization I'm familiar with is like the UFC. And the UFC uses the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and then for dope testing they use USADA, which was the same organization that did like the Olympics PED testing. So is there a conflict of interest when you do it in-house?
As far as the
Like UPA?
look, is there some kind of
Okay.
is there some kind of conflict of interest? You know, maybe you could say that, sure. Where we're at right now is we have to get it right with the UPAA. If we say, hey, what is the UPAA going to be in a year from now? My hope is that we're going to take that and we're going to push it off and it's going to sit as a 100% nonprofit. The problem with making it a nonprofit today, it would take a lot of capital and it would limit the resource that we're able to use from our other companies. Again, we're close to 300 total employees. We need to be able to use our marketing team to stand up a website. I need to be able to use our finance team to be able to run the finances. I need to be able to use, other various individuals that are inside the company to be able to help and stand this business up, get it self-sustaining. And once that's there, we'll go ahead and we'll push it off and we'll have it be a nonprofit. We're not looking to make any money from the specifications here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do things inefficiently. We're not going to just say, hey, we're going to put $1 million into a company and go start it all by yourself. Why? We have all the resource. We have the finance, we have the marketing, we have the, backing of all of our other employees. Let's stand it up. Let's get it right. Let's get it self-sustaining. And then let's push it off. Like not one UPA board member is saying, I want to make money off of UPAA. We want to, all we're trying to do is create fair pickleball.
Yeah.
And some people may believe it. Some people may not.
Yeah.
But if anyone was in my shoes and was able to get the feedback from both manufacturers and players, the only thing that you want to do is to try, are you going to stop all the complaining? No. But if we can take that to a level where it's manageable and where people are confident in the process, that's what we're trying to achieve.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, only time will tell. What do you see as pivotal for the growth of the sport at this moment in time?
What's pivotal for the sport? I think a TV deal is probably our next big thing we're eyeing. We're doing really great in attendance. We're doing great in ticket sales. We're doing great in sponsorship. We'll do about $30 million this year in just sponsorship between PPA and MLP. So it's well on its way. What we're really going to be focused on is how do we get something that's more concise for a media deal. Media rights deal is going to be important too. Like my goal is I want to be able to run a company that is profitable and does well without the TV deal. But if we get that TV deal, which I think we're all going to get, that's where it's going to become a really lucrative investment. And it's going to be a really great thing for one, players, because salaries are going to skyrocket. And two, also our investors. So I think that's something that's very important for us at the pro level. But what also is pivotal for pickleball, I think for pickleball to just keep being pickleball, it's not going to slow down. I'm just grateful to be a part of it. I think a lot of different entrepreneurs, and you've been able to interview a lot of different people. We're all riding this wave, this pickleball wave. And I'll tell you right now, no matter what I do, no matter what you do, no matter what a bunch of people do, the sport is going to continue to grow because it's just awesome. The sport's incredible and what it can do for people and the amount of people that can play it and how addicting it is and the fact that it's just one of the best games ever invented.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, just trying to hone in that growth and trying to make right decisions.
Yeah. What impact do you want to leave on the sport of pickleball?
Yeah, I'm hoping at, the end of the day, something about me is I really don't care too much about what people think about me except for a few select people, so like a legacy and that type of stuff isn't as important to me. But it would be great to be able to look back one day and be able to look at the PPA tour and everybody that works for us and everybody that's grown this from the very beginning. What I'm very fortunate is I'm surrounded by such an amazing team, and they all care as much as I care. And I want people to be able to look back at and say, I'm so glad that tour started. I'm so glad all that hard work that got put in, because look at how great pickleball is. Look how big it is. Look how much exposure it is. And I think it's more, I hope that people can look back and look at the PPA tour and also look at Major League Pickleball and say, look at all the jobs that this created. Look at all the opportunities that this created. And, you know, hopefully it's something fun that everybody can enjoy. At the end of the day, it's pickleball. I hope that everybody can find a way to enjoy it and be able to have fun, you know, watching the best players in the world. You know, they're pretty dang good. And so finding a way to have enjoyment through that, you know, life's crazy. Like, it's one of the reasons I like playing pickleball. I like playing rec basketball. Why I like watching sports is it gives you that time where you can just focus on that one thing and nothing else. And I'm hoping that we can help continue to provide that for people.
Yeah, for sure. What advice would you have for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think one piece of advice that I would have is, if you have an idea that you believe in, to I guess not let other people tell you no. Don't let other people tell you that you can't do it. I think that's something that I'm obviously super grateful for when I think about the PPA tour and what we've done. Is we've never let anyone really tell us no. If we heard how many people told us, you can't do that, this is crazy, the sport's never going to translate to TV, you're never going to be able to make this a business. One of my really good friends is Matt Wright. And I remember having, after Mesa, talking to Matt Wright, and he'll tell you he's wrong now, by the way. So someone should go and talk to him. But after our very first tournament in Mesa, I remember talking to Matt Wright, and he goes, this is it. This is the ceiling. This is where pickleball is going to be capped out at. And I remember going home that night and talking to my wife and going, do you think this guy's right? Like, this guy's smart. This guy's an attorney at Coke. Like, do you think we're capped? Like, and I remember my wife saying, like, I don't know. It's whatever. What do you think? And I think, you know, never let anybody else tell you no. If you believe that, if you believe it's something that can be successful, go work as hard as you can. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up. But each and every day, if you try your very best and try to be a little bit bigger, a little bit better, I think you're going to succeed.
That's great. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I'm excited to be on this. I'm a big fan of yours. I
Dude.
love watching all these.
Thank you, man. Nah, man, thank you. I know you're a super busy guy and you got a lot going on, and this was totally unexpected, and just getting to know you was super, super cool, man. I feel very, very fortunate and grateful, and I mean, it'd be an understatement to say that the sport is also like very grateful to have you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, man.
You know, thank you. Thanks for all that you're doing. It's been fun to watch. I just hope that we can get more content creators to develop the skills and be able to produce content at the value you do it. I mean, it's a different level, so we appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully we can continue. Hopefully we can continue to grow the sport with you guys.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Dude.
It'll be fun. Thanks, guys.